As I mentioned earlier, the defense industry is critical to Michigan and our economic success. So we have two members of the legislature, two members of the Senate who are going to talk about that along with Rick. So I want to welcome back Senator Kevin Hertel and his colleague, Senator Mike Weber from Oakland County, and district includes Macomb County as well. So Rick, take it away.
Yeah, thanks. This session, all Southeast, all Senate, so makes my life a little easier. Yeah. So I want to start, I guess, with talking about the new mission that's been approved for Selfridge, which was a deal long time in the coming. It sort of anchors Michigan's defense industries, that this has been talked about as the start of maybe something bigger and better. So from that, what's next?
Well, this is something we've been working on for a while now in the legislature. The governor made a commitment of $100 million to upgrade the runway at Selfridge, to fix an issue with the
Made a trip to the White House, too.
She did as well. Her advocacy has been great, and the advocacy of the speaker as well. This has been a bipartisan project, and we've put $54 million in this. If the Senate version of the budget were to pass, that would be $54 million over the last 4 years in investments at Selfridge. So this didn't just happen overnight. This is something we've been working on and trying to attract for a long time. And I'll tell you, I was at a Memorial Day ceremony with an A-10 flyover yesterday. And I joked that when those F-15EXs come, that flyover is going to be a lot louder. But we're really proud in Macomb County to have been able to attract this mission that is so critical, not only to our region. The entire state of Michigan, almost $1 billion economic activity every single year because of Selfridge, employs thousands of Michiganders, and it's critically important to the entire state.
All right, there are contractors, small businesses that serve that facility and well. But I guess I'll pose the same question to you, Senator. Okay, so you've done this, congratulations, but what's next?
Well, as you know, we do have the aerospace and the bipartisan, bicameral Aerospace and Defense Caucus. I know Senator Hertel is a vital part of that as well. I co-chair it along with Representative Donovan McKinney, and we took it over from Senator McDonald and then former Speaker Joe Tate, who kind of got it started a few sessions ago, and it's really been great. It's one of the best in terms of the size of the caucus. We've got a lot of power in terms of about 50 members as part of it. And we've been obviously working with Senator Hertel and others on the runway project, but then we're now also really monitoring, and it's a big part as we're following the federal budget in terms of the ground vehicles and what that potentially means with our jobs and our investment at TACOM, as the Army is talking about moving away from the ground vehicles. Not only does that affect our prime jobs, but also affects some of our military jobs in Macomb County and throughout the region. And so we're going to try to, the best we can, we're going to try to advocate to try to keep as much as we can while we maybe transition. Some of those companies are able to have the time to transition into other things. As you know,
transition from ground vehicles.
From some of the ground vehicle stuff. I think there'll always be a role for ground vehicles, to be honest.
What kind of ground vehicles are we talking about?
We're talking about like unmanned tanks. We're talking about, I mean, you should really, and I think, I know Senator Hertel was part of our TACOM tour in January. I mean, a lot of very creative, innovative stuff that we're doing there. But of course, auto capital of the world, we are the ones that, really have the innovation as it comes to the ground vehicle stuff, and they want to move away from that. They want to move to drones and stuff like that. We're kind of on that as well. We had that unmanned crew challenge, recently on the drone thing, and so we worry about that as well. But we got to try to build on the success of getting Selfridge.
On the job training side, what do we need to be doing as far as skill sets to create a workforce that's going to attract more of this type of defense spending?
The area of learning in STEM and technology learning is incredibly important. If you go to Starbase, actually, on Selfridge Air National Guard, base. It is an incredible program that gets young students out of the classroom and into an environment where they can do hands-on learning. That is, you hear from business leaders across every sector, I think, in the state of Michigan, but we need to get into more advanced manufacturing, more engineering here in the state. The work that's happening over at TACOM with the ground vehicles and turning those into some autonomous vehicles and upgrading technology is huge and could be a huge growth potential here in the state of Michigan. We have to be able to have the workforce in order to do it, and we're watching other states, and I think this is why the Chamber has been so focused on the defense sector. We're watching other states compete for the exact same business, and in some cases they're winning. And we need to make sure we're doing everything we can to have a talented workforce and keep those people here in the state.
Okay, you've made the case that we ought to do it. What ought we do?
Well, I mean, right now we are doing a lot. I mean, it's the fourth largest industry in the state of Michigan. It's a $31 billion industry for Michigan. It's thousands of jobs, particularly in Southeast, but also on the west side of the state with some of the emerging drone companies that are coming online. I think it kind of, if you build it, they will come. You've got a great base there. We're trying to, as a caucus, keep and build what we have, but then also it's a talent thing. And I know Rep. McKinney, if he was here, would really talk about that piece of it better than I can. But we're really trying to make sure that the folks that are coming out of our universities, instead of going out to work for Boeing in Seattle, that they're staying here in the state of Michigan. So we've looked at different things like an R&D tax credit specifically for the aerospace and defense industry. We've looked at kind of aircraft type of legislation, aircraft parts that actually Rep. Frisbee and Rep. Andrews have bills that passed the House Finance Committee that are moving through the process in a bipartisan fashion. So there's some different things we can do, even within the budget process, working with our Office of Defense and Aerospace Innovation. They've been doing a great job. Colonel Gutierrez came in around this time last year, and he's really only been on the ground here in Michigan for a year, and we've already seen results. So working with our existing companies and then working with ODE and MEDC to try to attract some of these new companies.
Well, what if you could just check off one box? What's one thing you could do, if you could wish for anything, that you think would be a big step towards getting an expansion of this kind of industry, building on this opportunity?
I think we've got to get young people that are here in the state of Michigan today excited about this kind of work. I think a lot of them don't understand what's happening right in their own backyard and the growth potential for what's happening in areas like Macomb County and Oakland County and across the state. And working while we have to protect those assets, we need to grow them as well. Getting young people interested and into that field is going to be a huge part of it, as well as the Michigan Reconnect program, which has helped get a lot of older people connected into these fields as well and help them get the training that they need. We have money in the military affairs budget this year that will help connect veterans with job opportunities right in their own community and get the training that they need. Those are the kind of things we have to look at to make sure we have that workforce here in the state of Michigan.
Okay, so I don't have to tell you two that we are living in contentious times, stark disagreements. Also, everybody remembers the now famous picture of Gretchen Whitmer holding the folder up while she was standing in the Oval Office. Going through this process, what did you learn about people with stark disagreements, partisan disagreements, Democrats versus Republicans, but also, progressives and hyper-conservatives versus centrists? What did you learn about working across the aisle, across ideological divisions to get something done?
Well, that's kind of what we try to do every day, in the legislature. And I know that that's not usually like the headlines that are in the news or the free press, but a lot of the stuff that we work on is bipartisan. But I would say, further, when you look at Michigan in presidential terms being a swing state, I think that helped to some degree as well. I know President Trump is term limited and can't run again, but I think looking at Michigan, and the fact that Speaker Hall and Governor Whitmer both went to the White House, because again we've been talking about this during the former Trump administration, during the Biden administration. I mean, it's been something that hasn't gotten as much traction, and then that White House visit, and you know, I was pretty floored because we'd had a ton of conversations over the years where it was a lot less optimistic that it was ever going to happen. Obviously, we were trying to put our best foot forward with the runway project and all this kind of stuff. But, you know, sometimes you can do the best and still not get it done. So I think, and as it is, as you notice, they had to add to the, you know, they had to add to the budget, to the appropriation to get those other 21 you know, fighters, you know, that wasn't really in the plan, you know, and so
you had to make the case for more spending.
You had to make the case, yeah, you had to make the case for it, and but I think it's very strategic. It's very important, not just from a political standpoint, but from a defense standpoint as well.
One thing I would say is that this is a good lesson that not everything is partisan, right? I think we live in a place today where partisanship is at an all-time high. Sometimes we just have to be on Team Michigan and focus on one solid goal to get something done. And I think, you know, the fact that this was able to happen in a bipartisan way shows that can still be done. It might take a little bit more work, but that's the role we're elected to do, is to sit down with people and solve problems, not play partisan games all the time. And that's something I really think we got to get back to, is finding ways to work together.
Okay, so in a sentence or two, someone comes up and says, we've got what we think is another great deal, but everybody is always angry at each other, especially heading into an election cycle. Starting with you, Senator Weber, what advice are you going to give?
Well, I mean, obviously you have to make the case for the project in specific, and then, yeah, you got to try the best you can to try to take the politics out of it. It's a little easier for Senator Hertel and I because we both come from competitive, you know, 50-50 districts. We can't be too far one way or the other, but, you know, it's trying to convince our colleagues that this is ultimately the best for Michigan. And again, in this Aerospace and Defense Caucus that we have, that's the nice thing. I mean, you've got, you know, a Democrat, Republican leading it. You have Republicans and Democrats in there, and we're working on projects together. We're working on, you know, how do we do some of this stuff in the budget. And sometimes people are going out of their comfort zone a little bit, like on some of the tax credit stuff and this and that, but we're getting stuff done, so it's been good.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds a little bit like you're also making the case for a legislative problem solvers caucus, like, you know, what we have in Washington, D.C.
Sure.
I support any effort for people to come together and get things done. I think, to answer your initial question, my short answer is when Michigan succeeds, we all succeed. And so we need to put aside some of the, you know, 10% of the stuff is what divides us the most. We really do agree on a good 90%, and we might not fully agree, but we can find common ground and find compromise on those things. We need to focus on that 90% before we focus on the 10%. I think too often today, we're focusing on that 10% first, and it doesn't benefit anybody in this room or anybody across the state.
Was there a moment where negotiations about something else became so fraught that it was getting in the way of this?
Not that I can remember. I mean, I've served in the minority, I've served in the majority, in the majority in the legislature. You've got to find ways to sit down with people and just get things done. I think that's, you know, if I have to go home every night, look my kids in the eyes and tell them that I did everything I could to move our state forward, and that's really what I try to do. I think you can find examples of that in the legislature, but that's really not what we're there for. We're there to find common ground and get things accomplished.
Well, even just, I mean, one of the, probably the biggest thing that we voted on this session, and both of us worked on it in terms of the tip credit and the paid sick leave, and you know, that was one of those where we were under some sort of deadline, and you don't necessarily see that early in the session with a quarter.
There were partisan
deadline.
Components to it.
But yeah, there was a lot to it, and you know, able to kind of try to work together best we could, the folks that wanted to get something done on it, and we were able to do it, so.
Okay. Well, that is Senator Kevin Hertel, Democrat of Macomb County, and Senator Mike Weber, Republican of Oakland County. Thanks for coming and sharing your perspectives.
Thank you very much. Good to see you.
Thanks.
Thank you.